When I first started out as a therapist in elementary school, I felt like I did not have the impact that I wanted to on the way that services were delivered in my building. I'm Karen Dudek-Brannan, and I help pediatric therapists make a bigger impact on their caseloads by helping them be better leaders. And back when I started out as a school SLP, I really didn't feel like I had a lot of say in the way that protocols were done in my building when it came to how kids were qualified for services and just the way that things were designed and integrated for kids. And as a very brand new therapist, I wasn't really sure how to get my foot in the door so that I could have more say in how things were done. And I just always felt kind of powerless as far as, the impact that I was able to have on my caseload and just the way that I showed up for my students. I only had 30 to 40 minutes a week with a lot of my students. I could only get to so many things at a time. And then there were other things as far as just what happened when there was a concern in a classroom with a student. There were many times where I felt like I could have a lot of say in the way that we provided supports for that student, whether it be through special ed or whether it be through just classroom-based interventions. So I wanted to kind of figure out, how can I be more involved in the decision-making process in my facility? And how can I have more say so that I feel more autonomous in the way that I provide services? And what really changed the game for me and started to really start the domino effect for me to be able to have more say in my building and really be kind of a leader in my current position was when I built a good relationship with the school psychologist. She at the time was on a district problem solving team where all of the kids, like whenever there was an academic referral or a behavioral concern or something going on with the student, there was a team of people. It involved, school administrators, a general education teacher, the psychologist, and the speech pathologists were not included in that discussion. I was an SLP. So that was kind of a problem in my eyes. But when I was able to develop a relationship with a psychologist and we started to have a good dialogue and we were able to start working together, she was my in, and she was the one who made the suggestion that we really needed to have SLPs involved in those conversations. And that was kind of a catalyst. So that one key relationship that I started with was kind of a catalyst for a lot of the other relationships that I was able to build. And getting on that committee allowed me to have more influence and impact over the way that things were done in my facility and in the district as a whole. And so if you are someone, and this doesn't just apply to SLPs, this could apply to, anyone who is a school service personnel or even a teacher in a school setting, or somebody who maybe you work in a different setting, but you still are responsible for providing services for K-12 kids. If you feel like you don't have a lot of influence and it's just kind of overwhelming as far as like, who do I talk to? What do I know? What you can do, I would recommend just starting on building that one key relationship that can be the catalyst. So figure out, who is involved in those conversations when it comes to planning things. And then also what I would do when I was initially starting to work in the schools is that if I already had kind of a relationship with someone, if I'd already had kind of a dialogue and somebody seemed open to some of my suggestions, I often started with those people when I wanted to get my foot in the door and make some suggestions. So I would start with that low-hanging fruit and I would allow that to build from there. So if you want to have more influence, it really just comes down to that first step, that first relationship. So you're only one relationship away from really starting that process of having more influence. Of course, you're going to build from there, but it all starts with that first relationship in order to get the ball rolling. So I actually share more tips like this and share more about how you can show up as a leader, even if you're not in a designated leadership position, so that you can have more say and influence on the way things are done in your building, so that you can be more autonomous in the way that you provide your services. And I actually have a free guide that walks through 5 shifts you can make to start making this happen, whether it be that you want to just take on more of a leadership role and be more effective in the position that you're currently in, or whether you want to think about making a career pivot or advancing to the next stage of your career and figuring out how to make that happen. It all depends on your unique situation and what's right for you. But these shifts are going to be critical and really helpful regardless of what is right for you. So to learn more about how you can be a better leader, go to drkarendudek-brannan.com/leadership manifesto, and you'll be able to download the clinical leadership manifesto, where I walk through the 5 shifts that therapists can make for being a better leader so that they can show up for their caseload in a way that allows them to deliver life-changing services. Again, that's drkarendudek-brannan.com/leadership